Well, any external shock to a company causes it to respond. And there's a great debate in economics about whether minimum wage is good or not. And already we've seen a lot of small business lay off workers. In San Francisco, there were some famous restaurants that are going to have to close. The natural reaction of an entrepreneur is to try to substitute away from more high-priced labor to more capital. So we're going to see more automation. We've seen some companies like Walmart voluntarily raise the wage they're paying, out of a sense of conscience and a sense of trying to give their workers more incentive to be productive. But by having a high minimum wage, the question is how high? If you want to eliminate poverty and have a good income, why not $25, $30 minimum wage? Where to stop? So it's an arbitrary effort by government, and a lot of cities are following it, but where to stop? And it will have an effect, and it's hard to believe that you can legislate away low wages and poverty by simply passing a law. So there are always in economics going to be gainers and losers. It's going to make it hard to get a job. At $15 or $20 an hour, these workers need experience, and they're usually not the head of the household. So what's best for younger workers is to be working, and to be working, their experience is less. They haven't done a lot before. They need to get started, and with low productivity, which is the driver of wages, the young workers need a job first and foremost, even if it's at a very low wage. So in some situations, government might subsidize a firm by paying part of the wage to help the workers get hired. So it's going to be tough in a lot of cities where there's already discrimination among some groups. Higher minimum wage is going to worsen what is already high double-digit unemployment. So it's not the kind of thing that's likely to improve the economy quickly. It's not likely to cause inflation because people only have so much money to spend. And in a lot of service industries that the minimum wage affects, there's a fixed pot of money that could be spent. And if more is spent on the wage and firms reluctantly follow with price hikes, they're going to lose business. So business is really caught in a corner, having to restructure, to invest in more capital. It's kind of driving workers away by raising a tax on hiring. And aside from the wage, there's the amount of money contributed for pension, for all kinds of Social Security and other taxes. So it's bringing a lot of extra regulation and discouragement to hiring. So economists largely don't look for a lot of stimulus, and I wouldn't expect inflation, and nor would I necessarily expect higher prices of those affected industries, because the companies just don't have that leverage or flexibility in dealing with poverty and things like that. Well, some economists might want to abolish the minimum wage and abolish things like food stamps. And if you really want to help the worker, you want people to be working full-time, getting some fringe benefits, and a negative tax or a more single income tax that wouldn't distort prices and decisions could be the most helpful. Encourage workers to work and get hired, get the unemployment rate down, and then for those that end up at the bottom with low incomes, you could simply have a negative tax. You could reward them by, instead of forcing their company to raise their wage, you could give them a tax refund. So you could redistribute in a more neutral way that wouldn't distort, the decisions of a firm, because you want firms to be efficient. And when it comes to factories and larger companies, American firms can be put at a competitive disadvantage like they are in North Central Europe. So competing with lower wage countries will be worsened with the minimum wage and make it even harder for America to compete when we sell our goods through exports. Well, the other side that look at the minimum wage as a help for the low-income families, I think neglects the hiring process and helping, a few workers who probably aren't the head of the households to begin with. These are workers that would have gotten a higher income on their own by accumulating more experience. And it can be a form of discrimination for hiring and for people at the bottom that are new and younger. And they should be able to work readily.
Yeah, work at McDonald's or...
I recall in college, we had strong economy for a while, and there were good factory jobs, and then once those jobs were lost, it was hard to even get hired at minimum wage.
Yeah.
So it's an arbitrary intrusion in the economy.
All right.